Hello and welcome everyone, my name is Madals and this is another StarCraft 2 England cast. Now today guys, I have got a ladder game. It is between Ourk, the red Zerg player in the lower left position, and ToXiC, the blue Protoss player in the top right. Now obviously Ourk and ToXiC, I've cast lots of those games previously. Ourk, a great UK player. ToXiC, I've got a complete mind blank on where he's from, but he's a very good player, so this should be a really close match actually, and I'm really excited to see how it goes. The map of course is Daybreak, and well, let's take a look at the map. Obviously you've got a natural base, which isn't too hard to take. It should be a fast expansion out of ToXiC, and he's already sending the probe down there, so that's quite likely. The reason you can get away with it is while this is quite a wide area to defend, it's a really long rush distance, just due to the fact these rocks are in the center. You have to go all the way around the outside, up into the main base, and it's really awkward. Meanwhile for Ourk, he can take his natural relatively simply. His third base is going to be the focus of all the Protoss attack. Now, this third base is really interesting in this matchup, and the one thing I think quite a few people forget about is how important creep spread can be. Now the reason I say creep spread is so important on this map is because your entrance to your third and natural are such a long way apart, you end up sort of trying to defend in the middle. Now, it doesn't really matter if Protoss units get up here, because it's a very wide open space. But what does really matter is if Protoss units are able to get into this sort of area. Because while this area is quite wide and good for engagements, when you chuck a hatchery down here, you have a very narrow area in this position where force fields can go down easily and can prevent the Zerg from engaging cost effectively. Therefore, you need to know really when the Protoss is coming in kind of this area, so you can move your units from this central ground up higher in order to defend in there, which obviously is a much larger space and will be a lot easier to do so. Now, coming back to the game, it looks like we can have a Nexus first out of ToXiC, which is quite a bold move. I mean, generally Forge First is a lot safer. Nexus First obviously gives you better economy in the mid game, but personally, I, on this map, think Forge First is just a little bit better to go for. Ourk, though, not known for being super aggressive. Obviously, the probe has come in and scouted, seen that it was a 15 pull. The hatchery now just going down, so really in about the next minute we'll see the third base thrown down because the Overlord will scout everything. We'll see it's a Nexus first due to that forge timing. And where should you send this Overlord? Well, there. That is the best place to really chuck down your Overlord, based purely on the fact that you can see gas timings. It's also pretty safe, and yeah, it's just the best place to put it. And then you put your second Overlord here, so you can keep a monitor on the ramp, and then you're really everywhere you want to be. The other important thing to do is make sure you scout around this area with Zerglings, just because that's a common place to put down pylons. Now, here we go, we do see Ourk coming down, and it looks like he's going to take an absolutely crazy fast expansion. 355, that is insanely quick. I don't think I've ever cast a game with a third quite that soon. Usually you see them at about 4 minutes to 4 minutes 20, which are on the early side. Obviously the latest I've seen is generally about kind of 4 minutes 40, 4 minutes 50, and later now you start getting into problems. But as you can see, this is going to be a real macro game. Both players really gearing towards getting good economy, getting the good income for the mid-game aggression, so can't wait to see how that goes down. Now obviously Daybreak, the big concern I'd have as a Zerg player is the Immortal Sentry all-in, because it's just such a common build to go for. Daybreak, it works so well due to this narrow space here and how effective force fields can be. And really, if a Protoss player picks off that third base, you're in an amazing spot to go on and win the game. And Zerg players find it very hard to come back from that. So we'll see whether ToXiC does go for that sort of play. I still think it's very likely. The Zergling scouting by Ourk, absolutely brilliant. If we take a look at his vision for a second, you can see all these areas he's gone around and checked out, made sure that everywhere there could be pylons, there aren't any. Looking here, he's got the Zergling really quite up forward and aggressive. He's got that Overlord just keeping good scouting information of everything that could go down. We do have the first Stalker coming out, so that Overlord needs to get out of the way, otherwise it could be vulnerable to dying, which obviously is never any good. The third base up and running there for Ourk. In terms of the work account, it's slightly ahead for ToXiC, but now all three bases are down. We should really see a lot come out. Now, here we see the first two gas coming down for the Zerg player. We've got the third gas just chucked down there for ToXiC, so that again is the fact that he's just chucked down his Stargate, which is not what I was expecting, means that we're not going to be having that Immortal Sentry all-in. I was basically going to say, because we've got that third gas now, it shows it being a very tech-heavy build, so we should see the robotics facility shut down, but a Stargate is en route, and this is a really interesting build. So Obviously, how do you defend against Stargate play? Well, at about now, 6 minutes 30, kind of 6 minutes 37 minutes-ish, you want to be throwing down your Roach Warren and Evolution Chamber. The Roach Warren defends you against a lot of the ground pushes. The Evolution Chamber allows you to get out Spore Crawlers to deal with those horrible, horrible, horrible flying units that can absolutely obliterate you. Because, of course, the only early game defense you have is Queens. And if all you need is 1 Void Ray and, say, 4 Phoenix, Queens are no longer an issue, because even if it's just Phoenix, they just get lifted and killed off very, very quickly. And Phoenix have incredibly fast build timing, very, very good harassment, especially on this third base. If you pick off that Queen and then just start lifting drones, you can get an awful lot of kills exceptionally quickly. I don't think the Stargate's going to be the key focus of the play, though, at the moment, because as you can see, the +1 ground weapons on their way down, and the third base coming out. So really, all ToXiC is doing here is trying to keep the Zerg player force back, maybe build some static defense, and really not come and be aggressive, which will allow ToXiC the opportunity to secure this third base and be in a very, very strong position going into the mid-game. Looking here for Ourk, he does have the double Evolution Chamber down. The only thing that's really missing is the lack of a Roach Warren. He's going for kind of a Zerg, mass upgraded Zergling double upgrade style, which is okay against ground pushes, but it can be a bit weak to, say, Immortal Sentry all-in. So I'm hoping that obviously a Roach Warren is chucked down soon. We see Spore Crawlers coming down. I don't know what was scouted there. Ourk did scout the Stargate, so he's preemptively throwing down the Spore Crawlers, 1 at each base, 2 at each base rather, exactly where they should be, and that is going to shut down this Phoenix play ever so hard. A couple of Overlords will still go down there, and there's Overlords all over the map, and that's really what you should do. Is if you have been scouted out, then don't worry too much, just kind of cut production of Phoenix and just use any you've got out at the moment to pick off Overlords, because of course these Phoenix pretty much already paying for themselves with what they killed. We've got some Zerglings here for Ourk running around the map trying to do some damage pretty much everywhere, so this is all fairly nice play. As you can see here, we've got, well, the third, fourth gas coming down for Ourk. He's got his macro hatch lair on the way. These Phoenix, again, picking off a good number of Overlords already. This will be about 5 Overlords worth, or 4, and basically that's some good damage. A Sentry nearly dying as well there, so good little aggression with the Zergling one by Ourk there. The only thing is ToXiC is engaging very, very cost effectively. He's only lost 100 minerals, which is absolutely tiny. It's probably from a pylon getting picked off somewhere. No, I most likely think, or possibly a Zealot dying. Looking around though, obviously the robotic facility down there now. We do have a complete wall off of the third base, so ToXiC in a very, very well defended position from any kind of aggression. He's just got to hold this area really. Any kind of attack coming into here, he's got double cannons there and plenty of time for him able to go and basically move his army down to defend. The Roach Warren just finishing up for Ourk now. He's getting his Infestation Pit as well. Meanwhile, we've got Bling getting Chrono boosted out. We've got the second Forge coming down, so double upgrades are going to be on the cards for ToXiC as well. Looking around the map, he's got his Robotics Bay coming down. But meanwhile, just Chrono boosting out on his Nexus, getting as many probes as possible. The Phoenix coming in here now, but of course, there is a Spore Crawler. They should be able to get a couple of kills on drones as well, should they be careful. But most importantly, they're seeing the Infestation Pit, seeing the double upgrade, seeing the Roach Warren upgrading. That gives a lot of information about playstyle that the Zerg is going for, which is of course very, very important. Work count wise, 73 to 61 workers in the Zerg's favour, which isn't a hugely favourable, but he is getting up his fourth base, which he needs to do. And really, his main concern is surviving the next, I'd say, kind of 5 minutes, because that's before Broodlords will be out, and really where this sort of composition of Colossi, Blink Stalkers can be very, very potent, because obviously with the double upgrades they get very, very strong, and as you can see the 2-1 upgrades on their way out for the Zerg, for the Protoss. Fleet Beacon as well, so it's going to see a very, very early Mothership, which is a very interesting playstyle. It's not something that I frequently see, but it explains why you get out the Stargate earlier, and it could be very, very effective indeed. We do see Zerglings just getting picked off, because why not? You can get some free units. Free units are always good, and still you're seeing in terms of the loss tab, ToXiC just being incredibly cost effective. He's also got great income, the Spire on its way down, the Hive on its way down as well, so both these players are rushing up their tech incredibly quickly. I don't think Ourk's going to be able to get in to scout anything down there, though. We do have a bit of a drone transfer getting picked off here, which is quite annoying, but there goes a fungal growth on those Phoenix. It's going to have to be 2, maybe even 3 fungal growths to pick them off, which obviously is a bit of an energy sap, but it's better to get them killed rather than just leaving them floating around. Just 1 Phoenix isn't actually very much of a threat. It's only Overlords that have to be worried about that. We do now have, obviously, the Spire half done. Extended Thermal Lance on its way down here for the Protoss player, wherever that Robotics Bay may be. There we go. So, upgrade-wise, both players doing fairly well. Ourk just is about to finish up his 2-2 melee ground weapons and armor. Meanwhile, ToXiC, he's got the +2 Protoss ground weapons and the +1 shields on their way. So this is again nice play. We've got the spine wall just starting to get produced by Ourk, who's still keeping his harvester count up high. One thing you often see is Zerg players pump a lot of drones into spine crawlers and then not replace them. Obviously, the important thing going on here, ToXiC leveling out the base race. Ourk really needs to start looking at double expanding now. He needs to definitely take this base at the very least, possibly start looking towards taking this one. The center rocks are going to become a very big play area. The creep spread for Ourk, not amazing, but not terrible either, so neither good or bad, kind of pretty much average. Meanwhile, for ToXiC, I mean, he's playing well. His expansion has been really good. I liked his opening. Of course, the fleet beacon's out, the mothership's on the way. Late game composition is going to be fine. The sentry count quite low, so this big Zergling push that's coming in could be effective if it gets a nice surround, because there's only the 2 Colossi out there at the moment, and a good surround could be incredibly effective. So we'll wait and see if that does go down, but obviously now photon cannons are coming down everywhere. This is going to be a much more secure area, and both players really being quite passive at the moment. The Corruptors have been shown. I don't know if the Colossi have been seen yet, but obviously a couple of Corruptors should be kept just ready to deal with them. We do have the High Templars getting ready to be coming out. The Templar Archives obviously on their way. We do have the 3-2 weapon and armor upgrades coming down for the Protoss, as well as 3-3 for the Zerg melee. The Greater Spire nearly done. The second Spire coming down. The 5th base on its way. Yeah, this is just solid play from both players. 2 Zealots are coming in, but they're going to get picked off very quickly by these Zerglings. The only thing missing from this composition at the moment is, of course, the lovely Adrenal Glands upgrade, which Ourk does have enough money for. And I do feel that Adrenal Glands is a very potent upgrade, especially in the late game. It makes Zerglings do so much damage. You've got the first Broodlords morphing in now. Neural Parasite also coming down, which recently has been rather underused. I think it's a great upgrade, especially if you can get some key units with it. Now, obviously, these Sentries and Immortals are going to get picked off very easily by these Zerglings. And, well, all the Sentries gone. It's good, cheap engagement. That Immortal probably can get picked off as well, should it want to be, because there's no reinforcements on their way. For the moment, though, we're seeing just one Brave Stalker getting picked down. That's obviously very annoying. That Immortal running away, hiding in the corner and being like, guys, why did you send me on my own? Meanwhile, Spine Crawlers coming down to defend the main base. The natural base got a couple of Spine Crawlers. The third base, a couple of Spine Crawlers. Only problem with this Spine Crawler placement is a drop at the back could be quite potent. Of course, late game, the way you deal with Death Ball v Death Ball armies is just to do lots of dropping, because Death Balls tend to be very slow to move around, and therefore multi-pronged drop attacks can be very potent. Looking here though, the Mothership obviously is now out. That means that this is going to get very effective very quickly. The first drop is going to get spotted, but well, with a lot of Spine Crawlers down there, it's not going to be too effective. There's obviously just the one Queen in the main base as far as I'm aware, but as you can see already, the Spore Crawler is starting to take damage. We've got the Corruptor coming in as well, which will probably get the kill on the War Prism, which is going to be a big win. Meanwhile, no counter aggression really coming down. The first Spine Crawler does fall though, that's a bit of a shame, and yeah, everything going quite nicely. We've got the Zerglings there. We've got, meanwhile, mass Spine Crawlers coming up at this 5th base, which is precisely the base you want to protect most, because it's the furthest away. If you're going to be going for drop play, attack the 2 furthest apart bases, hoping to force an awkward split. Now, I did hear some morphing in. It's just a couple of Broodlords somewhere, I believe, but obviously need to start thinking, where can we go for some more aggression, where can we try and do some more damage, and how effective will it be? And really, this is what Ourk's aggression is all about, is these Zerglings. Once he sees that force move forward, that Zergling counterattack is going to go in here hard. Adrenal Glands is now done. They're 3-3 Zerglings, and that is incredibly strong. So hopefully he'll be on the ball enough to notice his force moving forward, and will start dealing the damage. Of course, the problem is a big Vortex. That is always going to be the risk. The Broodlord count isn't that ridiculously high. It's only at 7 at the moment, which means that maybe not quite enough there at the moment. The Archon count is quite high for ToXiC as well, up at 5. So a good Archon, basically Vortex with Archons in there, will do a huge splash damage, and it could be very strong indeed. A handful of Infested Terrans getting thrown down here, just trying to keep the Protoss at bay. And the big problem is these Zerglings need to go and do their attack now. If they're going to go in, they've got to go now, because otherwise you're going to miss the opportunity. Same with those ones. You've really got to start thinking, when am I going to send those in? Meanwhile, we're seeing, well, mass attacks going down everywhere. Lots of Infestors are popping, and well, this is starting to become hugely damaging. ToXiC with a great attack. Meanwhile, we've got the counter-attack coming in, and quite a few Zerglings here, but just not quite enough. Big warp in of Zealots coming down trying to defend that, and well, the 4th base for Ourk has been picked off very fast, and still we're seeing this Protoss will move forward. In terms of the Broodlords, only 4 remaining. Where have they even gone? They're just sitting in the back here, but I don't think they're going to be too potent at the moment. This mothership is the real threat. It's giving the cloak, and of course the problem is there's only 4 overseers on the field, so they can get picked off easily. This top base taking huge damage as well. Those Archons engaging very, very well. A couple of Stalkers getting picked off. Of course, the detection is coming in with the overseers. The counter aggression has been cleaned up by ToXiC with those Zerglings, and well, he's got a whole load of High Templar coming in. I don't think he has Storm Research, but of course he's got them there for the feedback on any infestors. But of course, those infestors are keeping well out of the way for the moment. But basically, what you do with the High Templar is you just use feedback on the infestors, and they pop, which is both very, very satisfying and very, very awkward for the Zerg army. And of course, now Ourk in a terrible position because he's on 3 bases to the 4 bases of ToXiC. ToXic's in an amazing spot for the moment. He's got most of his army still there. He's at 200 of 200, and he looks pretty unstoppable at the moment. A great fungal growth, though, goes down exactly where it needs to, getting a lot of those High Templar. The High Templar moving incredibly forward, but here goes down the mothership. Vortex is on the money, though, for the moment, but the lack of Broodlords could be the problem. And of course, ToXiC has a huge amount of bank behind this as well, just ready to really produce whatever on earth he wants as the supply starts getting low. He's also got a huge amount of gateways down there, so he can remax very, very quickly should he need to. All the Broodlords get taken down by the Archon toilet there, and well, to be honest, I think this is going to be a good game. We've got 70 more Zerglings coming down, but this force just absolutely wrecks Zerglings for the moment. We've got a few more Broodlords coming in, but they are getting sniped off very, very well by these Stalkers, and ToXiC is just relentless in his push forward at the moment. He's just doing massive, massive damage, and of course, the bank there is just so huge. It's going to be incredibly, incredibly difficult to really try and come back from this when the resupply is there. Ourk's army and supply absolutely falling so rapidly. Mass warping of Zealots, and that is the game, guys. So ToXiC played very strategically, very, very well there defensively. Both players really not engaging much, but a really nice opening from ToXiC, I must say, with that Stargate play. So if you did enjoy, guys, please do subscribe. I get new games up daily. Leave a cool comment below and like the video, but most importantly, I hope you did enjoy the game, and I'll see you tomorrow for yet another cast. Bye for now.